Hello and welcome to the Essex Boys Murder Case Part 36. Before watching this video, I recommend watching Part 4 onwards on YouTube first, as these videos are all about the key individuals and the murder victims' movements on the day of the 6th of December 1995. A quick mention to the Facebook page called The Real Essex Boys Murder Club. If you're interested, please feel free to join. There's some great people on there with a lot of knowledge on this subject. So this is the third part of the reconnaissance missions done by Mick Steele, Jack Wooms, Darren Nichols and anyone else a few weeks before and on the day before the triple murders. I'm using phone log evidence, witness statements and Darren Nichols' version of events according to his second statement, as he says he had no prior knowledge the murders were going to take place. In part 1, I discussed how they chose a murder location, a meeting place where they could start their journey that night, and a plan to lure Tucker and Rolfe to their deaths. In part 2, I discussed how Mick Steele has to be a passenger in the Range Rover to lure them to their chosen location, so he couldn't be a shooter. I discussed how Darren Nichols had the chance to buy a firearm but changed his mind and devised a plan at the last moment to be the getaway driver, which left Jack Wooms, who had access to 2 unlicensed shotguns. I also covered the possibility of them hiring a hitman from a notorious Canning Town crime family. In this video, I'm going to cover the reccies that they may have done a few weeks before the triple murders. Now, in order to carry out these murders, a lot of planning went into it, 100%. I mean, these murders weren't thought of and carried out on the 6th, no way. These were totally pre-planned well in advance. So I'll tell you what, let's start with their chosen location that they meet up on the evening and carry on from there. According to Darren Nichols, Mark's T is up here where the red marker is, and this is where the 3 would meet up to discuss business in person. It was roughly the same distance for all 3 to travel to, so this was a good place to choose to start off on the journey, and it was the quickest way down to the Basildon area and then on to the chosen murder location. So they would have travelled along the A12 where the blue line is, heading down towards the Basildon area. And eventually they come to the turn off here, which is the Brentwood turn off. And the reason why they're not carrying along the A12 and then onto the A127 towards Basildon is because they're looking for a place where they can meet up with the Essex boys close to the Basildon area, as they don't want to spook them or they just want a place where they can meet up away from the Basildon area, but it has to be a place where Tucker and Rolfe feel safe to do business in. So what we'll do is we'll take a closer look at the next route after the Brentwood area. So, Mick Steele and the others have turned off at the turning for Brentwood, which is the red marker at the top, and they're driving along the A128, and they're looking for a place where they can meet up with the Essex boys, and it has to be a place where they feel comfortable, but it also has to be somewhere where the others, Darren Nichols and the others, can park up on that evening and watch the Range Rover turn up next to Mick Steele, who will be in his Hilux. I mean, they're driving along the A128 and they're looking for like a place, maybe a motorway service station, or a supermarket car park, or even a pub car park. It's just a place where they can meet up prior to taking them to the chosen murder location. So what we'll do now is we'll take a closer look at the A128 that they're travelling along. So they drive along the A128 through Brentwood, and as they do, they spot this place ahead, which is the Thorndon Country Park, and it's off the main road, and they may have even driven down there to take a look. This could be a place they could use, maybe. What we'll do is we'll come back to this place later. As you will know, if you've been watching the Day of the Murder videos, you will know it's a significant place. So they carry on along the A128, still looking for a place Mick Steele can meet up with Tucker Tate and Rolf. So Mick Steele and the others are driving along the A128 along here, and they're heading towards the Basildon area, and they're looking for a place where they can meet up with the Essex boys on the evening to lure them to their deaths. And as they do, they spot this place here, this lay-by, and what they do is they drive into this lay-by. Just down here. What they then do is drive along this lane, and they come across the Halfway House pub, which would be an absolute ideal place to meet up. So, was this lay-by going to be the place where Jack Williams and Dan Nichols were going to change the number plates on the Passat? Did they change their mind and look for another place on their way back? Because this would have been too risky changing it here, just in case the Range Rover came down this way at the same time. I mean, if they were spotted doing this by any of the Essex boys, then it would have turned out absolutely terrible for Darren Nichols, as Pat Tate was after him for the Dud cannabis fiasco. They couldn't risk being seen changing the number plates, so this place along this lane would have been a no-no. They would have had to look for another place on their way back along the A128. So what we'll do now is I'll just speed up this little travel along this lane, and we'll get to the entrance to the Halfway House pub. So here we are at the entrance to the pub car park, and if you've been following my Day of the Murder videos, you will know I've been here before. And it's a big size car park, and this would be ideal. And just down here there's a slip road that leads on to the A127, and which then takes them up to the Rettendon Turnpike and on to their chosen murder location. And I don't know if you can remember when I don't know which video it was, but I did a video when I first arrived at this place, the Halfway House pub car park, and as I was looking round on the video, I actually found a blue Range Rover, which sort of spooked me out a little bit. This one here. Yeah, sort of freaked me out as I was doing the video. But yeah, I tell you what we'll do. While we're here, we'll just reenact what happened that evening. So, Mick Steele drives into the car park first, and he parks round about here in the middle, according to Darren Nichols' statement. And about 5 minutes later, Darren Nichols drives into the car park, with Jack Williams being the passenger now, and they park at the back here. And Jack Williams changes his mind and tells Darren Nichols to go park near the front of the car park, just down there to the right. And according to his statement, the Passat was facing towards the pub. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do while we're here. Let's take a closer look at where he would have parked on that evening. So here we are. This is the front of the pub. And what we'll do is we'll just try and find out exactly where Darren Nichols parked up that evening. So it would have been round about here that I'm circling now. Like he says in his statement, the vehicle was facing the pub. Just over here, this is where Mick Steele parked up in his Hilux, waiting for the Range Rover to turn up. So get a closer look. Here we go. So, yes, so it would have parked here, round about here, somewhere in this part here. I'm waiting for the Range Rover to turn up. So yeah, I'd say one of these spots here, with Mick Steele parked up here, waiting for the Range Rover to turn up round about this part here. So Mick Steele and the others have decided this is a great place to meet up with the Essex boys. And here's the slip road where Darren Nichols and Jack Williams and anyone else could drive just down this road here and then join onto the A127 and head towards the Rettendon Turnpike and get into the pre-chosen murder location. When they decided this place would be perfect for a meeting place, did they drive around this area looking for a public payphone to keep in touch with Pat Tate and Tony Tucker, just to let them know if there was any problems that evening, or to let them know the day before the murders, after the final recce, just to let Pat Tate know that they will tell him that they're going to meet up sometime in the next day or so to show him where an intended drugs drop will take place. Now, we know a phone call was made from a public phone box to Pat Tate's mobile, but it wasn't used in the phone log evidence, so it's hard to work out if this call was made on the 5th, which was the day before the murders, or on the actual day of the murders. But a call was made to Pat Tate's mobile from a public payphone box along the A127 here at 5:03 PM. Now, I'm going to come back to this 5:03 PM phone call in a later video to try and work out which day this call was made. Because if it was made on the 5th, then it couldn't have been Mick Steele, Jack Williams or Darren Nichols, as they were about 35 miles away in Marks T at the time. I mean, did they have a fourth accomplice maybe? The hitman making this call? Or if it wasn't, and then there is one person it could have been, which just might shock you. But like I say, I'm going to save this video for a later one. But I 100% believe this 5:03 PM call had something to do with the murders. So now they've found a location to meet Tuckertate and Rolf. They now need a place to take the Essex boys past Rettendon, and so it would give them plenty of time for the others to get into position down the track. So now they've got the place where they're going to meet the Essex boys, which is the red mark on the left, being the Halfway House pub. And they set off along the A127 here. And Mick Steele is going to be getting the Essex boys to follow him past the Rettendon Turnpike, which the Rettendon Turnpike is around about here. This is where Darren Nichols and Jack Wounds and anyone else, on that evening, they're going to drive up here where the marker is and heading up towards the chosen murder location, being the White House Farm track. But yeah, that's where they're going. But Mick Steele needs to give them time to get into position. So he's going to take the Essex boys away past the Rettendon Turnpike, and he's going to drive through Rawreth, which is just about here where the cursor is, and then take them to this part here, which is a little place called Reccie. Now this journey for Mick Steele to take the Essex boys, it's roughly about a 10-minute journey, so this is giving time for the others to get down the track. I tell you what we'll do, we'll take a closer look at the area of Reccie. So Mick Steele and the others have been driving around the area of Reccie, and they come across this place here. Now back then this place was called the Hungry Hippo, but as you can see now it's called the Traveller's Joy. But this is about a 10 to 12 minute drive to White House Farm, which is ideal as this will give the others plenty of time to get into position down the track. He's going to get the Essex boys to follow him to this destination, and in this car park he's going to park up and get into the Range Rover, making sure he's sat behind the driver's seat so he can open the door and get out when they see the gate is shut or locked. There's no need to time this part of the journey from the Halfway House pub to the Hungry Hippo. As they pass the Rettendon Turnpike and head towards Reccie, like I said, the others will be in the Rettendon area by the time Mick Steele and the Essex boys are heading through Rawreth and then down to the Hungry Hippo. So now they have a place to meet up, i.e. the Halfway House pub, and a place to take them past the Rettendon Turnpike, i.e. the Hungry Hippo, to give the others time to get down the track. They're going to head back now to the Halfway House pub and then towards Brentwood along the A128 and find a place where they can change the number plates on the Passat. So as they're heading back towards the Brentwood area along the A128, passing the Halfway House pub, they're looking for a quiet, secluded place where they can change the number plates on the Passat. Now they don't want to arouse any suspicion by using this in a lay-by or a main road or on a street. Like I said earlier, that lay-by they will be using to get to the Halfway House pub car park, it's too risky, as the Essex boys will no doubt be using the same way to get to the pub along that single track road. Now apart from Mick Steele and the others don't want to be seen in this vicinity, especially Darren Nichols by the Essex boys. So this place here, which I mentioned earlier, is the Thorndon Country Park. Now this could be an ideal place where they can change the registration number plates on the Passat prior to them going to the halfway house and then on to Rettendon to commit the murders. It's off a main road and it's a secluded area. And I tell you what we'll do, we'll just drive down it to have a look. Yeah, so this would be an ideal place for them to change the registration plates. And like I say, it's a nice secluded area. It's not going to arouse any suspicion changing the plates down here. And like I say, it's not far from the pub where Mick Seal would be driving ahead to. Just down here. And let's not forget, all these journeys would have been timed. Here we go. Now, this park will be closed when they turn up down here to change the number plates. It will be dark in December at the time they were going to turn up here. And I'm just going to quickly mention something that doesn't make sense about Darren Nichols' second statement about these fake number plates being stuck over the original ones on the Passat. Now, Darren Nichols said he was told by the others he was needed to do a bit of driving on the night of the murders and had no prior knowledge the murders were going to take place. So why didn't Darren Nichols ask Jack Wooms why they needed to change the number plates at the Thorndon Country Park if they were just going to go on a meet about a potential drugs drop? I mean, you don't need to stick on false plates over the original number plates if you're just going to look at a place where a drug drop might take place. I mean, the police, they're hardly likely to pull them over if they were driving to a location or even parked up somewhere. I mean, they're not doing anything wrong if the police pulled them over along the rest of their journey from the Thorndon Park. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Why didn't Dan Nichols question Jack Wooms about changing the plates over if he had no prior knowledge what was going to happen? I mean, if anything, they were more likely to be stopped if the police did a check on the national database and got information back that the registration plates are not for that particular vehicle. I mean, why didn't Darren Nichols mention in his second statement that he found Jack Wooms wanting to change the plates? I just find that very odd. Yeah, I mean, yet another reason I think Darren Nichols did have prior knowledge the murders were going to take place that night. So that's it for this particular video, and in the next part of the recce videos I will be doing their final checks of the recce the day before the murders. I'd just like to thank the YouTube subscribers. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And don't forget, you're the ones that see these first, as I don't upload them onto the Facebook group until about a week later. Talking of the Facebook group, don't forget you can join the Real Essex Boys Murder Club. We have over, I think it's 1,000 members now, and it's just growing on a daily basis with over 100 people wanting to join every day. All we ask is respect other people's opinions on there, as we all have our own theories on what we think happened that night. Last of all, I'd like to thank the admins who do a great job of keeping the group ticking over. So until next time, take care.